When I'm working in a dark space like my engine bay or in my attic, I use this little battery-powered LED work light, and the battery on it is totally shot and only lasts a few minutes. So since I have all these Makita tools, I thought maybe I'll finally just buy a Makita light. But then I saw that they were over $100 for just an LED light. And look, why spend over $100 on what is probably a quality tool when I could spend dozens of hours and half as much money to just do it myself? So today we're going to be 3D printing power tool accessories. These ones will be for Makita, but they'll also work for Ryobi and DeWalt and Milwaukee. I'm really jazzed for how this turned out, so make sure to stick around to the end. To get started, we're going to need a few things. And the most important thing we're going to need is these little adapters. They're ABS plastic and they slide right onto the battery. Careful, these are live now with 18 volts. They have 4 bolt holes on them, and they're perfect for just 3D printing your own accessories and getting 18 volt power right out of your power tool batteries. I found these on AliExpress. They were about $1.50 each, and now I think they're $2 because of tariffs. They're pretty good quality, they fit well, none of them have had any issues. They also make them for all the major power tool brands, and they make them in a few different colors, although they don't have the Makita blue, so I went with black. The next thing you're going to need is a light source. I'm using these 24 volt LED strips that I used for 3D printer lighting. I had this left over. This stuff is really super bright, and 24 volts is pretty close to 18, so we don't have to do too much step up. Speaking of step up, you're going to need a step up or step down converter. If you're going down to 12 volt LED lights or even 5 volts, you'll need to step down. These are cheap little DC-DC converters, and you can get them from Amazon or eBay or AliExpress or wherever you want. This is optional, but we're also going to use this giant heat shrink wrap, and not for wires. I'm excited to show you what this is for. I think was really fun. Then the next thing we're going to need is some M3 screws. These things have a conical head in them, so I bought this conical head M3 kit. They come with everything. I like to buy the kits because I'll always have every kind I ever need, and they're not that expensive. You're also going to need some rocker switches or any switch that can handle the 24 volts. I found these ones, they work great. And lastly, we're going to need filament. And this is kind of what inspired this whole project, is this Polymaker Power Tool Teal color. And as you can see, it's a pretty darn close match. These are a little bit darker because they're covered with years of grit. But yeah, this Power Tool Teal is very close match to the Makita. They also make a Power Tool Red, a Power Tool Yellow, and a Power Tool like lime color to match Ryobi, DeWalt, and Milwaukee. This is high temp glass fiber filament, which means it's really quite strong and it can take a beating. Really like this filament, highly recommend it. As I was prototyping, I started using some cheaper filament just to design the base that would match the adapter. They come with the measurements on the store page, but they don't show you how to make these complex curves. I managed to get it pretty close on just my third try through just trial and error. I figured out I need to use a conic curve with a rho value of 0.47. Rho is spelled RHO. I have no idea what it means other than that it's a measure of flatness between 0 and 1. If anyone has a better explanation, let me know in the comments. Typically, power tool handles are designed to be split in half, and in this case, this one's overmolded with some rubber. Because we don't have to be beholden to the rules of plastic injection, I decided to design a mid-frame that would house all the components, well, really just the component, which is the voltage converter, and then a handle that would bolt into that. I used 4 captain nuts to go to the adapter and 4 captain nuts to go up towards the handle. This design, as it turns out, was overcomplicated, and I fixed it later. To determine the height of the handle, I calipered myself and decided that 10 centimeters would be perfect. I put all the captain nuts on the same layer so that I could just stop the print once, insert all the nuts, and then keep printing. I thought that these would be stronger, but with the M3 size nuts, which are really, really small, I think that that might not be true. I'm sure someone out there has done this experiment, but I'll just say that in my next iteration, I switched heat set inserts. That was a lot easier and better in the long run. One thing I like to do when I'm mating 2 surfaces is extrude out a lip to locate the 2 parts as they come together. You can subtract that from the other side and then just extrude another like 0.1 or 0.2 millimeters on all sides. This tolerance allows it to fit snugly together. To hold the LED strips in place, I first measured sections of the strip. These ones happen to be about 50 millimeters long, so I figured I could do 3 sections. I made this a separate piece so that I can build this light module and then just slide it into the housing. Once all the parts were designed, it was time to print the real pieces. For this filament, because it's got glass fiber in it, you want to make sure you have a hard nozzle on your 3D printer. Polymaker has profiles on their website that you can import into Bamboo Studio or Orca Slicer, and the default settings from the profile worked great for the most part. There was a little bit of stringing, but nothing that can't be cleaned up. Once printed, I put the light strips on the frame and I pressed the wires through the back. The hard part here is wiring the rows of LEDs together with tiny wires. There's probably a better light module that I could use for this, but I had these 24-volt strips already, so that's what I used. In a future revision, I want to design a lens cover or something just to protect these wires a little bit more, or maybe I could just fill this module with epoxy. Before we start playing with voltage, I have to point out that these batteries have a little bit more of a kick than just like a single cell. There's multiple cells inside here. When you clip it in like that, there's no protection. These are live, so if you touch any of these together or any of these two wires together, it's gonna hurt maybe. I don't know. So whenever you're working with it, keep the battery unplugged, only plug it in when you have to test it. So next you're just gonna wire up the voltage converter. It's just in and out with plus and minus. I used the spade terminals that came with a switch to connect to the battery and soldered the other end onto the board. And then you spin this little tiny knob with a tiny screwdriver until it reaches 24 volts. I've heard that these modules are super noisy, so you probably don't want to use them on a project where any kind of critical signal is involved, but these LEDs just don't care, so these dollar converters will do just fine. The output of the converter goes to this JST SYP connector. These are commonly found on RC batteries. Learning to work with JST connectors is one of the best things you can do to get a more serviceable project, and honestly just easier to work with. If you do a lot of projects, I highly recommend this PIBA connector kits. I've had this one for a few years. I'm not sponsored or anything like that, although I get an affiliate commission if you buy one. I've used these kits so many times that I've had to refill some of the connectors, like the double pin connectors that I use for batteries all the time. Honestly, I use these on pretty much every project I do. Once you get the hang of it, it's really not that hard to make connectors. My big old sausage fingers struggled at first to get these crimp terminals into the crimper tool. You'll find that there's like a little tiny ledge on here that the connector rests on, and then once you get that, you can just click it down and it'll stay like that. You can chuck it across the lawn and the crimp will still be waiting for you. Just kidding, don't do that. Or do, I'm not your boss. When you strip the wires, you want to strip them a lot shorter than you think. Like a millimeter or two is enough. Insert it until the jack is just inside and squeeze the handle. I'm not sure if there's a standard for which side the plus or the minus should be on, so I just do one side randomly and then make the other side match. They slide in until you feel a little satisfying click, and now you've made a connector. Here's a diagram of how everything goes together. The next step of this is to glue the top part onto the handle with some old epoxy. But before I do, I'm sliding over this massive heat shrink tubing to act as a rubber handle. I was super surprised how well this works. It feels pretty legitimate, and I'm excited to see how well this will hold up over time. I don't usually get this excited about shrinkage, but it's just so satisfying. Unfortunately, I put the top on backwards. Despite checking, I simply forgot which way the battery goes. Or I guess I should say I misremembered which way the battery goes. It doesn't affect the functionality at all. The battery just slides in and out the wrong way. In a future revision, I'm gonna make that keyed so that you can't possibly make this mistake. The last step is to screw it all together, and I'm really just satisfied as heck with the result. The light is bright as heck, and it lasts forever thanks to these batteries. And the color is close enough that I'm glad they can't trademark the color teal, or maybe you can trademark a color, I'm not sure, I'm not a lawyer. But I'm glad I'm not Polymaker if that's the case. And now I can finally stop procrastinating and fix my car. But before I do, I also wanted to create another light, a smaller little light. And I want to use my learnings from my first go around to design this one a little bit better. So instead of using a mid frame, this is just one solid piece bolted into the adapter. There's a ton of support on the bottom, but it's all internal, so it's fine if they're ugly. I used heat set inserts this time, and I can't remember exactly which 3D printing YouTuber I learned this from, but the bolt trick is the best. Don't waste your time with a heat insert press thing. I built one for another project, and I just never use it. I just push the insert until it's slightly proud, and then stick a bolt on, and it comes out perfectly flush every single time. I hot glued the same step-up booster converter directly to the adapter, and I made these pigtails a little bit too long. But it fits, and it bolts right up, and there you have it. Little tiny baby light. I'm actually super excited with how this turned out. I love the feeling of like the rubber grip from the heat shrink tubing, and I'm excited to make some more things with this strategy. I want to make a Bluetooth speaker, a fume extractor, so that if I'm working in my car or another tight place and I'm soldering, I can use the fume extractor in a tight space, just powered by the Makita battery. Speaking of fume extractors, I might make a fan. Let me know if you have any ideas for other things I can make. Also, let me know if you want me to make a DeWalt version. I have a DeWalt battery. I could also make Milwaukee and Ryobi versions, but I don't have those batteries, so I would have to go buy them. And these power tool batteries are not cheap. On a personal note, I also really wanted to say thank you to everybody who's been watching my videos. I'm really surprised by how many people are tuning in. And it means a lot to me that people are enjoying these projects. I really appreciate you. So I'll see you next time.